Chris, last year when you guys kind of got the transition defense on track, you mentioned Corliss kind of making some tweaks and getting involved. I was just wondering, did anything like that similar happen this year around, or was it just familiarity and things clicking in? Or?
I mean, I think our care factor just went through the roof. Yeah. I mean, we just made the effort to get back. Like, we realize how important it is for us to be really good in transition, because in the half court we can be very, very good. So we just weren't very good. Turnovers, obviously we were turning over, and there was a ton of live ball turnovers, bad turnovers at the top of the floor, stuff that just led to a lot of things that are hard to guard in transition. So that's helped. And then in practice, just kind of going back to basics and a lot more emphasis on it. And so Corliss has been great.
Chris, it's far from the first time a team has played against a former player. Do you say anything to the guys about it? Is there going to be any different feel tomorrow night?
No, not really. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a lot of emotion, a lot of feel for them and for us for sure. But we don't make too much of it. So just got to stay in the game and keep your emotions under check. I'm sure guys will be ready to play. I know that. I think, probably maybe a little bit more movement in offense. A lot of spread stuff for where he played before, so he got a lot of drive and kick, pass threes. We're kind of moving around a little bit more as a kind of a movement shooter. I think that's been a little bit of an adjustment for him too. Whenever you're learning to play with Rudy in particular, so there's always adjustments on where and when and how to throw him the ball. And then some of the defensive concepts are a little different with our backside rotations are a little different than his. But he hasn't shot the ball particularly well, but he's really played well in a lot of ways. I mean, his on-off, his positive plus minus is pretty high with a lot of our important combinations. So he's still making a big impact.
Chris, with him, there are players who would not have success with Rudy early and then bail out on it. He seems to have stuck with.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, he's probably had a great chemistry with Rudy early, and then the teams adjust to things as the season goes on. So he needs to be a little bit more aggressive, looking for himself at some times, and I think that'll open up all the other playmaking opportunities. So, but yeah, he's definitely stuck with it, and it's paid off.
Does that, the shooting percentage, is that because the shots look different because there's more movement?
I mean, yeah, listen, we've struggled, particularly the middle part of this early season, if that makes sense. We've struggled to have a good rhythm offensively at times, and even if you have open shots, not every shot's open that is created the same. If I can track where the ball's going to go, pass, boom, it's going to line up in my hands, then those shots are a lot easier to make. We just haven't had established a great rhythm. We've done it in spots, and we've got a better one right now. But I think I'm not worried about it. Really not. I don't make shots. He's too good of a shooter to not make shots.
Chris, how transition offense impacted by how you guys have to rebound? You guys play defense. There's one kind of core of the that you have to commit to rebounding so you can't get out in transition as much as you do.
I mean, we've gone through periods where we struggled to rebound. Obviously you got to secure the ball before you run, but we haven't had a great fire out mentality from the backcourt. The first 3 or 4 steps just haven't been. We don't have a lot of naturally fast guys or natural runners. We do. Some have a few, but it's something we've been trying to stress more with is hit ahead and throw the pass ahead. So, we've struggled to rebound earlier in the season, so we put a heavy emphasis on that. So no point running until you get the ball.
Mike put it on himself a little bit for not maybe being aggressive and getting the ball to get into some of the things that you guys do well. Is that something? I mean, I know you guys always preach aggression to him, but that's kind of a constant battle of him fighting his, I guess, what he usually does, which is just trying to make things good for everybody else.
I think it's a little slight distinction. I think we need him to be aggressive to score a little bit more at times, but I think what he's talking about is just getting the ball and being more of a prototypical point guard, and just getting us organized. I think at times we'll go through periods where we just don't get that organized. And we have, guys that like Ant and Julius who want to have the ball early in the offense, but sometimes when they bring it to initiate the offense, things bog down. So I think those are the moments where he's got to kind of reassert himself as our point guard.
What's like the rate? How often would you like him to be the point guard out there versus
I would probably like him to do it more often than not, 2/3 of the time, let's say, if you're looking for numbers. But we're also trying to stress, to create a little bit more of a transition game. Whoever gets it brings it. So, it's a balance.
It's just like bringing it up though, and if it's not there, then pull out now, get it to Mike.
Yeah, or just I think we've we've gone back to it in the last handful of games, except the Lakers game, which was just kind of a rock fight. But like we've abandoned a lot of our early structures that have been good to us in the first 15 games of the season, so we've gotten back to running more of that.
Chris, how different really is your team structurally having Julius now and Ford instead of Carl? Like, is it more subtle stuff, or do you think it's pretty significant?
I think it's somewhere in between, to be honest with you. I think spacing-wise, both can space the same way. Obviously, Cat's size and shooting ability stretches the floor a little bit. Cat was a straight line driver. Julius is kind of more of a zigzag guy. Accommodating that's been different. Just the chemistry, obviously, between Cat and Rudy was really good. But you have to rebuild that chemistry with Julius. So it's coming along. We see it in pieces. The chemistry with Julius and Ant is really good. At times I feel like it's a little bit more organic than the chemistry was with Cat and Julius. With Ant and Julius, as their time together progressed. So there's lots of little things like that. I don't know how you sum it up.
What is it like coaching a star player who legitimately just wanted everybody to be happy? Like Cat, I don't think you see that a lot, but really
for
everybody
sure.
around him.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think it was kind of indicative in his willingness to accept, like Rudy coming in, accept a different role. It's a pleasure to coach those guys, particularly Cat. It was great. It was highly coachable. You get him in film session, get him on the practice floor. He liked the practice. He brought good energy to practice. He cheered for Ant from the moment that he got here. And that really kind of set the tone for everything since I've been here.
How are you see Cat's rebounding numbers in New York? What's your reaction?
Well, yeah, they play him in a deep drop, so he's always around the basket every time every shot's taken. And at the 5, like he's a slightly different player than before. That manifests itself in a lot of different ways. He's not having to play next to a dominant rebounder like Rudy either. So, but it's incredible. He's got great hands. He's long. He fights, and he's had those type of numbers for us. When I first got here, maybe not consistently, but he had big rebounding nights when we had him at the 5.
Some of the Knicks have talked about kind of losing a little bit of their identity when they lost these guys.
Yeah.
Do you see them bringing that to you?
Well, I think, I would say we went through a little bit of the same. Our identity was 2 bigs, lots of length, etc. We had figured out a bunch of stuff, as you do and as we will here. And so we lost some of our identity too. But they brought us some physicality that we didn't have. I think some on-ball toughness. And that's not all just related to Cat's departure. It's just like it's what these guys have, and we didn't have a ton of it. So, I think so. We probably are walking parallel paths in that regard.